Welcome to the Sisterhood Collective podcast, where we empower women to break barriers, overcome limiting beliefs, and achieve true success. I'm your host, Laurie Drummond, entrepreneur and founder of 5 successful businesses. Join me as I share proven strategies, interview inspirational leaders, and provide behind-the-scenes insights to help you level up in your business, career, and in life. Because together, we can get further faster. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sisterhood Collective podcast, where we explore empowering topics to uplift and inspire women from all walks of life. I'm your host, Laurie Drummond, and today we have an enlightening episode in store for you. Joining us is the brilliant Samantha Jackson from Undercurrent. She's a lifelong friend of mine. She's a psychologist, organizational coach, and human factors professional. And today we're going to be talking all about mindset and its profound impact on our lives and performance. So mindset. It's the lens through which we view ourselves and the world around us. And it has the power to either propel us towards greatness or hold us back from reaching our full potential. So, firstly, psychologist, organizational coach, human factors professional. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thanks, Loz. Thanks for having me. Yeah, look, there are lots of different components to my role, and I feel very privileged to be involved in all of these areas. I spent, I guess where I started was in the military. I've done 22 years in the military in full-time roles and part-time roles. The last 9 years was as a psychologist. And I spent the last 5 of that in a more human factors role, where we looked at optimizing the performance of individuals, teams, and the organisation. So we're looking at systems and how we can improve all of those things. And so I've worked closely with a lot of the pilots, the Army aviation pilots, and I've taken that love, I guess, into more of an organisational coaching role now, as I guess that's the part I really love. And also doing a PhD, so looking at systems, human factors, methods, so rolling all that in together.
You must be pretty good with time management and doing all that stuff.
It's not about time management. It's about selecting the most important things at the time and then trying to focus on those. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You can only do so much in a day as well, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So today's podcast is primarily going to be all about mindset. And firstly, thank you for giving us some time, because you are doing a lot, but thank you for sharing your time with us. Tell us a little bit about what is mindset.
So mindset is the product of beliefs and attitudes that somebody or individual can hold that really affect the way they approach life. So it can affect the way they perceive and approach different challenges and different opportunities that they encounter. Mindset has really been popularized after Carol Dweck, currently a professor at Stanford University, really wrote about it and talked about growth and fixed mindsets.
Now, Carol Dweck's actually written a book as well, hasn't she?
She has, yeah. It's called Mindset: Changing the Way You Think to Fulfill Your Potential. And it's been one of the bestsellers, and I can highly recommend it as a great resource.
Obviously, you've read the book. I know that you've shown me the book before when we've, spoken together, and you've got all these notes throughout the book, because obviously there's a lot of takeaways. So what are some of the big takeaways from that, I guess, that book, but not necessarily focusing on the book so much as, what you can share with us about mindset, and I guess what do we need to know about it?
Yeah. So Carol really talked about 2 different types of mindset: fixed mindset and growth mindset. And I'm sure many of your listeners have heard of these. We often like to believe we have a growth mindset, and that's an excellent aim for us to have. But to understand it a little bit more, though, a fixed mindset is really when people have this idea that, or beliefs about their abilities, that they are innate and that they can't be changed. That really they believe that their abilities are set in stone, and they might think that they're good at something or they're not good at something, and that there's not much they can do to change that. And so when people have that fixed mindset, they generally start to see challenges as obstacles. And when we face obstacles, sometimes it can be easy to give up. And we don't want to continuing to pursue when we look at it from that perspective. But in contrast, a growth mindset was really when an individual believes that their abilities can be developed through hard work and dedication, and that they see these challenges as opportunities to grow. And that's probably one of the key perspectives there, is that they see that there is opportunity for me to grow from failures or setbacks, and that my current abilities, if I have a growth mindset, don't stop me from going any further. I can develop these, and then that's a key factor in how successful I can become.
Here's a question. So once someone recognizes they have a fixed mindset, which you said is usually when they're thinking that their ideas are set in stone, what steps can someone like that take to start shifting towards a growth mindset?
So the first key would be to identify that we are experiencing a fixed mindset. I mean, there's different components to that too. As I mentioned earlier, we can start to think that we want to have a growth mindset, but it's actually very normal for us to go back and forwards a little bit between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. We're very human in that sense. And the key for us is to identify when we're in that fixed mindset and when we have those beliefs about ourselves are inhibiting us. It's normal for us to have that. And so once we admit that, we're more prepared to accept that we've got some control over the situation. We can change it from there. And then we need to identify what our triggers are. So what is it that triggered us in that moment to go into that mindset? That might be for somebody focusing on what were you experiencing at the time. Once you've recognized you're in that state, what were you experiencing at the time? Were you thinking about something in particular? Was there underlying feelings that led you to feel uncomfortable? Is there a stressful event occurring, circumstances occurring? Those kinds of things can help us become aware because we were triggered. So understanding what that looks like for us is key here.
One of the things that we talk a lot about is surrounding yourself with, a supportive network or, people that bring you up. But here's a question. So you might have a growth mindset, but maybe your partner or the people around you have fixed mindset. What do we do in a situation like that?
Yeah, so as you've rightly pointed out, Liza, one of the things we can do to help support our own growth mindset is to try to support ourselves with other people that are in that mindset. But absolutely, it's natural for us to encounter people that may not, again, like I said, people can move back and forwards from fixed to growth mindsets. One of the keys for this is communication and trying not to inflame the situation, because we need to try to understand why somebody might be in a fixed mindset. And we're the product of so many experiences that we have encountered throughout our lives. And so it's important for us to understand the perspective that they're coming from and try to not inflame the situation. Give your partner space to understand your perspective as well. But I think it's also important for us to understand our own role in somebody else's behavior, if we might be creating a triggering event for them. And again, communicating, I think, is key here.
You're right. It could be, that's something you don't necessarily think about. It's not always their fault that they're acting that way. There's always a backstory or a reason, right? And it's I guess identifying that. So then what are some common signs and behaviors that might indicate that someone is in a fixed or a negative mindset?
Look, a fixed mindset might be things like it can manifest in lots of ways, including just that belief that we about ourselves that might be negative, that we can't achieve something or we can't do something. So you might hear somebody saying those things, or you might hear yourself saying those things. Again, these might be identifying within yourself that you might be in that state. It might be avoiding challenges. So things that we find hard, it's really uncomfortable. It can be really uncomfortable to face hard things where we feel that we might fail. But it's through these failures often on challenges that we can really develop the most growth for ourselves. So recognizing when we might want to pull back from something or when we might want to quit something and try to understand what might be driving that in ourselves or others. Recognizing different feelings too. So if we're feeling particularly threatened by somebody, again, we might want to reflect on why that is. And when we focus on the outcome, so if the outcome is to win or to succeed, and it's not necessarily about that focus of, yes, we want to succeed, but it's also about, okay, if I don't, that's okay. I need to take what I can from this situation and grow from the experience. And so identifying whether it's a winner takes all kind of situation, that might be an indication that somebody's in a fixed mindset if they can't learn from their mistakes.
Every time you're saying all this and I'm sitting here thinking I have no doubt I definitely have some fixed mindset syndrome going on in areas of my life. I literally can't sit here right now and pinpoint it. I'm sure some of my friends out there, even you, Sam, might know that I definitely have them. That's without a doubt. Now I think I'm going to be a little bit more aware where I want to sit there and go, where is my mind fixed? Because I do want to be open to other people's ideas and views and change. And I do want this growth mindset. So I guess now the challenge for me and many others is going to be actually identifying it. That's probably the hardest thing. Like if you were to approach me and tell me, Loz, you've got a very fixed mindset in this area of life. How do you say that to a friend or to somebody? I mean, I'm open to it and I'd love to hear it. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to receive it well, but I'm certainly going to try. But then how do you kind of highlight that to somebody? And I suppose the other part to that is they've got to be willing and wanting to hear it, right?
Absolutely. And, and this is the challenge, right, is getting people to be prepared to be in a growth mindset where they're prepared to recognize that perhaps their behavior and the outcomes aren't perfect, but they can grow. And so depending on who it is that you're trying to speak to and convince, like a child, for example, if you were trying to move a child from a fixed mindset, you might be focusing more on communicating different messages to them. So instead of saying things like, oh, you're so smart, oh, you're so wonderful, you can focus more on things like, oh, I can see you've worked really hard at this, and that effort that you've put in has really resulted in the outcomes that you've got today, like the winning outcome, if that's the case. But it's also about being honest. So if somebody has failed something, going and telling them, oh, you were the best, it was bad luck that you missed out. Well, that's not really helpful, is it really? Because they still failed at something. It's helping them respectfully, finding the words that help them say, okay, so you didn't do well this time. What is it that you think you could do differently? What is it that we want to help somebody move to this new place where they can develop an awareness of what it was that held them back because they didn't achieve the goal or they didn't achieve success in a circumstance. So there was clearly something that held them back at that time. Focus on externalizing the blames for that is unhelpful. Helping people see what was their role in this and what can they do to actually change the situation going forward is the best way to really help them move into a growth mindset.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like if you think about that particular analogy that you've just used with the child, that is literally something we do in business. It's what we've done in all the organizations I've worked for before. And I do it in my own personal goal setting and in, our mastermind group and membership room as well. We talk about, we reflect back. So we've got to the end point where we may have set a goal for 30 days time or 90 days time. And we've looked at the path and we've pushed people to get to that goal, but then we get there and we haven't hit it. That's okay. But it's okay that you didn't hit it. Like taking a look back to go, well, what prevented you from reaching that goal? And it's, it could have been out of your control 100%, but at the same time, it could have been, you've lost motivation, and you lost your way a little bit, which happens too with, I guess we have that challenge of constantly we go through cycles of motivation and then cycles of feeling flat. And, that really prevents us from moving forward too. It is. And so then when I say something like that, Sam, is there a difference between feeling, going through these cycles of having all this motivation and feeling like you've got all this gusto to, and you're proactive and you're getting things done, to those times where, you might have a couple of days or even just a day that you feel flat and you've lost your mojo and you're no longer moving forward and you start procrastinating? Is that similar to fixed and growth mindset, or is there a connection there?
Yeah, definitely. So what we believe about ourselves can definitely affect our mindset. It's very normal to have those days sometimes when we don't feel motivated, and we might feel motivated for lots of different reasons. And one of them might be because we've had a bit of a setback and perhaps we've lost a bit of confidence and we don't want to engage. But it's sitting with that is another important thing. So recognizing, okay, I'm not feeling great about what happened, I've lost a bit of motivation, but connecting back to your values and what's important to you and what your goals are in the long time. If you need a little bit of a break, that's okay. Often in those downtimes, we can really reconnect to what's important to us, but recognizing honestly where you are. And then if you need, like you talked about that support network before, if you need, connect to that support network. If you can't, try to connect with it, find within yourself what values you have and what your goals are to motivate you, but connect to those other people as well. Use that system around you to support you to get you back there.
Look, so many of us have limiting beliefs, right? That hold us back. Fear of failure, fear of, I guess, the unknown of what could be on the other side, or fear of not knowing what I'm doing, if what I'm doing is right. And it is a massive challenge for so many people. How do we reframe these limiting beliefs in ourselves and push forward?
Again, the first thing what we kind of touched on is recognizing that this is a belief that's holding us back in the first place. So sometimes these things can pass through our mind just fleetingly and we might not pick up on them. But those beliefs, those thoughts, they deeply affect what we think about ourselves. So actually even catching yourself in the moment thinking, I'm actually not good at this, or I don't think I can do this, or just in that moment, catching yourself in that moment, that's the start. Because if you're not catching those beliefs, then it's hard to actually change if you're not catching those thoughts, it's hard to catch and change those beliefs. So identifying any kind of limiting beliefs and negative self-talk is a key. And trying to seek opportunities for growth. So trying to challenge ourselves. So with the growth mindset, the people that really adopt this growth mindset are people that can accept constructive feedback and learn from it. So it doesn't feel good to get feedback to say that we're not great at something. But how we look at that, if I don't let that bring me down, if I look at that advice that you've received, so if you've told me, Loz, that you're not good at this, Sam, you need to improve on one particular thing, for example, then I could take that personally, or I could take it as an opportunity to learn and grow. If you've delivered that to me with respect for me as a person, I know that your best interest is for me to actually improve. And that's why you're telling me that. And so embracing some of these challenges, embracing some of these difficult conversations can really help us to actually overcome those beliefs. Look for things that disconfirm our beliefs about ourselves too. So it's easy when we're thinking, I'm not good at something, to always identify the moments where we haven't been good at that particular thing. But we need to look for evidence in our life that disconfirms that as well. So where have I succeeded in life? Where have I faced something that was really difficult and actually done well? And then reflecting on that, the positive process as well.
I think a lot of that comes back to your own personal values. I run a little mini course, and it's something that's being released in the member room. And it's all about understanding your authentic self. And it's really going through your personal values. And when I teach, about values to people, or people trying to understand them, it's where they have to go and reflect on what has impacted them both positively and negatively in life through, different attitudes and behaviors that they've been brought up with somewhere along the way that has created their current value system. But we have to identify that. What are your current? Because if I was to sit there and go, hey, Jeff, what are your personal values? I'm pretty sure not many people can rattle off their personal values and then their why as to why that is a belief or an attitude that they have for themselves personally. So I've got this course that kind of helps you identify what they are, because I truly believe they are important. And something else that I think is important is that even when you run a business, the staff that you have or the team that you have, as part of your organization, it is important that they have similar values and that you surround yourself with people that have similar values. And I find that we naturally gravitate towards people that have them anyway, but I'm not sure we're actually identifying what those specifically are. But then if you don't know what they are, you can't necessarily get to your goals either. I think you need to know your values. Once you know them, it's going to help you set life goals and then, start setting a plan to go and get them and achieve them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that self-reflection and self-awareness is vital to any kind of improvement, and connecting back to your values is absolutely vital to changing a path forward. Our values can be shaped by so many different things, and they really do underpin, as I said at the start, our whole approach, our whole mindset, what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about the world. If we believe we're entitled to something, then that will shape a particular behaviour. If we believe that we're actually going to gain success through trying hard and keeping on trying, and then sometimes falling down, but then getting back up, these are the things that will continue to push us forward and help us succeed.
So Sam, what do you think would be some really good strategies, maybe some daily practices or habits that we could implement to reinforce a growth mindset?
One of the practices that I would highly recommend is setting some deliberate time for self-reflection. And people will do that in different ways. Potentially they might do that whilst they're going for a run, or so making that time, or it might be when they actually sit down and journal. But it's really a deliberate period of self-reflection where they can look at how everything's going for them in their life, where they're at that point, and where they want to be. And potentially a deeper reflection could be done every week. And you might do a shorter reflection every day on what's been successful for you. But I think the key to maintaining a growth mindset is to look at, what did I learn today? So I tend to do this at the end of the day. I set aside some time. What did I learn today? What was the most important thing that I took away? How does that fall in line with where I want to go? So connecting it also with my goals, my future goals. So I would definitely recommend taking some deliberate time every day to focus on where you are and where you need to go to get to where you want to be. Also, look for opportunities through the day or through the week to see feedback from people and be open to that criticism. And if you're feeling a bit defensive when you're receiving that, try to reflect on why you might be feeling. In that reflection time, reflect on why you might be feeling that way. Do you feel that it's a reflection on yourself as a failure, or as yourself as not being good enough? So these are all underlying factors that might drive our behaviour. So definitely spend some time on deliberate time for reflecting, but also seek opportunities for feedback and growth.
Yeah, cool. Then tell me, any sort of final takeaways or thoughts then that you want to offer our listeners with regards to mindset and our better understanding, and how we can, try our best to stay in this growth mindset if we are chasing success or the best life or our purpose or understanding ourselves better?
Look, some of the things I think we can focus on is on the learning that we can get from situations rather than focusing on being perfect. Because when we focus on being perfect, we're not always going to be perfect. And so we can really fall short of those. And if we're in that fixed mindset, then that can really set us back and find that difficult to recover from. But if we focus on the learning from a situation, then we can recognize in a normal learning process that we're going to fall down sometimes because we're not perfect, because we're learning. So I would encourage people to focus on the learning rather than being perfect at something. Be open to feedback from people. And if you're finding that feedback difficult, spend that deliberate time reflecting on why that might be. Connect to your values, connect to your goals, the ideal self. How would your ideal self respond in this situation? And then you can filter that back through your behavior. And set yourself challenging goals, because it is through these challenges that we learn. And then when you have successes, celebrate those successes, because they're really important for reinforcing that as well. So it's not just all about the failures, it's also about the success. But when we do focus on that success, remember that that success has not been generated necessarily from our perfect ability. It's been generally it's because of the hard work that we've put in along the way that has enabled us to achieve that success. And if we can focus on those things, then that can help motivate us to maintain that growth mindset.
You're speaking my language. I can see why we're friends. Like everything you just said, then I'm like I feel like that was me talking. Sometimes you probably articulated it much better than I do sometimes. But I think sometimes I get like this, someone said it the other day, a word soup of words. Yeah, like word soup just comes out of my mouth. I'm like, thankfully, people around me, they speak my language, which is Loza talk. And but you just articulated that quite well.
Of course.
Well, Sam, that was really well put together. Thank you so much for all your knowledge and wisdom on this one. I'm 100% positive that we've helped some people understand what the difference is between growth mindset and a fixed mindset, including myself. And then, maybe some strategies that we can use to, one, identify it, because that's the hardest part. And then I guess then start to reverse engineer what has been the triggers that made me react or even think this particular way. You've talked to us a lot about learning, getting feedback from people, really connecting and understanding our own personal values, and then also the self-reflection piece. And you also mentioned, a really good practice would be every day or weekly. It really depends on everyone's, time that they have available, but just sitting down and having a moment to reflect and realize where you are and where you want to go, which will help you project and move further faster. So thank you so much for your time today. I can't wait to talk to you again already. I've got about 9,000 things I want to talk to you about. So we'll bring you back on the podcast for sure.
Thank you, Loza. It has been wonderful talking to you as always, but especially today. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Sisterhood Collective podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you want to be the first to hear what is new at Sisterhood Collective, you can find out more on our Instagram, or you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter and let the good times continue to roll. Now it's time to turn your clear vision into bold action. I'm Laurie Drummond, your host, and until next time, keep striving to live that best life. Take care, and we'll see you soon.